Yeah, I'd been to a very inspiring meeting because I sit on the UK Athletics Board, and on my way back home, they actually put me on a train, and I wasn't alerted that the disabled access toilet was out of order. So as you do when you're traveling, you know, when you're getting on board, you sort of don't start looking for toilets to see whether they're, you know, they're working.
No. And I wonder if the other toilet had have been out of operation, would that train have been allowed to run? Do you know?
I sort of don't think that they would have allowed a train to run without any sort of toilet.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
nobody told you when you got on board there's no disabled toilet. So then you eventually think, right, I need to go to the loo. You find the disabled toilet is out of order. What did you do then, and who helped you?
I definitely had to alert the authorities. You know, I say to them, hey, this is going to be a very long journey for me, and I need to relieve myself. The lady who was in charge of the train was very helpful. She suggested that they take me off at one of the stations so that I could use the toilet, and then put me on board so that we could proceed with the journey. But the unfortunate thing is, when we got to that particular station, there was nobody, there was no staff on the station to help me. Then, unfortunately,
So
I had the accident.
Did you just... Oh, that must... Oh, Anne, it's so awful for you.
And did you say
literally just
embarrassing?
thought, I just have to just go, and you just have to wet yourself.
Do you know, but as a human being, you know, and as a mother, as a, you know, as a grown woman, you sort of just don't decide to do it. No. I'm not 2 years old. I'm not a toddler. You sort of... I tried to hold as long as I could, and I just couldn't anymore.
Well, across country trains, they say clearly the circumstances of Mrs. Strike's journey were unacceptable. We would like to apologise to her for that. This is the first time, they say, we're aware of such a situation ever happening on one of our trains, and we're still investigating how our procedures for caring for a customer in a wheelchair could have failed so terribly. We are determined to learn from these events to ensure our wheelchair customers receive the quality service they expect when travelling by train. What's your advice to them?
I think my advice to them is they really need to look at how they treat their disabled people. And actually they're wrong, because this is not the first case. I am not the first case. Since I've spoken up, so many people with disabilities have come up and they've shared these horror stories of what they've gone through. You know, we are being robbed of our dignity.
Did they not say that they would, at the other end of your journey, because there you're sitting in wet clothes, very embarrassingly, very uncomfortable, I'm sure, that they were going to get you a car at the other, when you got to your destination? Was that car there?
They promised to get me a taxi waiting, as you know, when I got to the other side, but unfortunately that was not the case.
How did this affect you? I mean, so embarrassing on the train, but what about afterwards? How long did that stay with you?
Do you know, I covered myself with a hoodie because I was so embarrassed in case someone that knew me, you know, could identify and sort of say, oh, Anne, what's the matter? It embarrassed me. I used perfume to disguise the smell.
Yeah.
That is not what should be happening in this day and age. I got home, I was crying, you know, I was sobbing. I had a shower and I just flung myself on the bed and cried for a long time.
Yeah.
We're talking about, we would love to think this was some sort of one-off incident. It could never possibly happen to anyone else again. Unfortunately, we don't think so. This was you out shopping yesterday, and just talk us through just daily things that, you know, most people wouldn't begin to think about. What are you experiencing here?
This is what happens, you know, this is supposed to be a ramp, but you can see how steep it is.
Yes.
You know, when you are in a wheelchair, you just want to go on with your everyday life. You want to be able to do things, but it's not the case, you know.
You're strong. I mean, you're an athlete.
Now, this is a
struggling.
shop door we're looking at here.
This is a door, you know, we are talking of access. I should just be able to go in and, you know, just
Could I ask you a question? Many, many years ago, in the early 1980s, I went to help a lady in a wheelchair through a door, and she shouted at me. She turned and she snapped at me, and it really affected me. I thought, oh, what is the protocol? What is the procedure? What is, when you're trying to be helpful and sometimes people want to seem independent, what's the guidance?
I think the best thing is to ask whether they need a hand, you know.
They'd like a hand.
Whether they would like that support, because I think you'll sort of realize that the majority of people with disabilities, they don't want sympathy, they want opportunity, and that's what we are constantly crying of. So I think maybe the best thing is for you to sort of ask whether, would you like me to help you? Do you want any assistance? And that is the best way to go about it.
I had, if ever I had an education in this, was this year when I had the 2 hips replaced. And for a brief period, I was in a wheelchair on crutches, and you see the world in a completely different way. Completely different way. You see it from your view, from your level, and you see the hurdles there are out there, so many of them.
Do you know, like, you know, when we talk of accessibility, you know, the shop and restaurant owners, they're the ones who are really losing out, because it's estimated that the disabled population in this country, UK alone, could contribute to up to about £250 billion.
Yeah.
And
Listen,
thank you very much
for highlighting. We're so sorry that happened to you, but as you said, it started a conversation and it's got people thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that, there's more of the same right here. And make sure you subscribe so that you never miss the best moments from this morning.